Everyone, welcome to week 3 of Pivot. This week we're going to be talking about branding and networking during a pandemic and how you can use these tools to strategically advance your career. Before we get started, just wanted to let you guys know that the session is being recorded so that others can watch it at a later date. You're all on, so feel free to utilize the chat function to ask any sort of question you might have throughout the presentation, and we'll certainly leave time for questions at the end of this presentation. Just so you know who you guys are spending time with, I'm Katie Krikorian. I'm your host for this session. I'm the Assistant Director for Career Development and Career Coach for our College of Music and Media. And I'm thrilled to be spending this time with you guys right now and excited to be talking about branding and networking because they both are really strong career strategies and really powerful ways to help you move forward with your career. To give you an idea of what we're going to be discussing today, we're going to be talking about branding and how it impacts your hireability, strategic ways to increase your professional online presence, and then kind of pivot into networking and why it's important for your career, and then some specific action items to help increase and expand your network. And the reason we're discussing branding and networking together is because they're both essential to one another. Your brand is your professional reputation that is going to propel you forward in networking and really help guide who you connect with. So it's important to be conscious of how you're branding yourself and being strategic about networking because there's a lot of crossover between branding and networking. So let's go ahead and dive in. All right, so first and foremost, why is building your online brand and your professional presence important? Branding is essential because one day you are going to lose your identity as a college student. Whether you've recently graduated or you're still in college, your identity for so long has been a student, and that's been your kind of professional brand and your presence in people's lives. So the case for building your professional presence online, specifically during the pandemic, is because 92% of companies report that they use social media in the hiring process. So almost all of employers are sort of vetting candidates via social media and seeing what you're posting and how you're representing yourself online. Employers are less likely to interview someone if they have no online presence. So if you're someone who is extremely off the grid and doesn't really have an online presence, that you might consider creating a LinkedIn profile to give you some sort of online presence and establish your digital footprint. Next is 61% of recruiters conduct social screenings to support qualifications. So recruiters and hiring managers are looking for confirmation that what you submitted on your resume is how you're representing yourself online. And I mean, the statistic shows that over half of the recruiters are doing that. So social screenings are happening when you're in the hiring process. Next, 34% of recruiters are looking to see what other candidates are saying about you, or other people are saying about a particular candidate, which is you. So being mindful and being conscious of what other people are tagging you in and what they're saying about you, whether it's in a Facebook comment or a Twitter repost, you definitely want to be conscious of your interaction with others on social media. And then lastly, there is a small percentage of people, hiring managers, recruiters, that look for a reason not to hire a candidate, and they find those on social media. So this is the case for, your digital footprint, your online presence is a very strong, factor in your hireability. Just to give you some ideas of where employers are looking, right now, LinkedIn is it. This is a really strong tool for employers to vet candidates and to see, what you're posting and how you're branding yourself online. So LinkedIn is a strong platform for employers, along with Facebook and Twitter. If you guys have a blog, those can be really great tools as well. branding yourself right now online is a very strategic idea, because when you put content out in the digital world, it really helps by creating less of a risk for an employer to hire you. Because if you have digital content and information online that really backs up your resume and really confirms all those skills and experiences and your relevance to the industry, that's a really strong case for someone to hire you and bring you in, and you become less of a hiring risk to an organization. Sharing content online, it can range from reposting an article, it can be sharing your thoughts on a particular subject. It's more than just clicking and retweeting something. It's really taking time to curate a thoughtful response to an idea or someone else's work. Of the social media platforms on this list, LinkedIn is first because it has a really highly ranked search engine algorithm. So it's really easy for employers to find you, which is, again, why having a LinkedIn profile is a really great idea. All right, moving forward, these are some ideas for posts to help build your online brand. Branding yourself is being more than just, the life of the party, or being more than just a really great conversationalist. You want to brand yourself as someone worth getting to know because you have really good ideas and you have the ability to, think critically and to problem solve and to be creative. You want to be able to brand yourself as this person that's important to an organization and that you have great ideas. And one way to do that is to share what you're learning. Whether you're taking summer courses or you're taking, online classes just for fun to try to build some skills out, talk about those, share those online and talk about how you're developing specific skills. If you're reading any articles or listening to any particular podcasts that you're enjoying or that are relevant to a particular industry, talk about those, share them, send them to people in your network that you think might enjoy them as well. That's a really easy way to network and continue branding yourself as someone who is a lifelong learner and who's, constantly doing research and wanting to expand their minds. So be mindful of that and how you can help others, and talk about those ways. If you have any industry insights, if you have any particular thoughts on an industry during this pandemic, share those ideas and potential solutions for when we come out of the pandemic and when we're on the other side of all of this. So these are just some ideas to be thinking through during this time. We're all social distancing and when we're all living our lives online, which feels like it. These are great ideas for how to brand yourself as somebody, who's worth getting to know and who has, just good content. So we're going to shift now and talk about networking and kind of transition into why networking is important. Networking is without a doubt one of the best ways to find career opportunities. The percentage that is shared most often is 85% of career opportunities are attributed to networking connections. So the broader your network, the more diverse your network, the more potential opportunities for employment you're going to find and have access to. Another reason why networking is so important and vital is because you're always going to need references for job opportunities. Whether you're applying to jobs, internships, a fellowship, graduate school, any sort of professional opportunity, you're going to want and need a reference. So you're going to need those people in your corner. In your network, you're also going to gain valuable industry insight, and especially during a pandemic, if you have a strong network of people that are in your industry of interest, you're going to be able to learn how they're operating during this crazy time and during the pandemic, and potentially learn new tools and resources and get that really great insight into how you can contribute to that industry. It's also reported that 70% of people find jobs through connections at a specific company. So having a really diverse network, knowing where your network is employed, because if you, potentially submit a job application at a specific organization, somebody that works there, you're more likely to, be bumped up to the top of the list to potentially be interviewed. So it's a really strong percentage to be first for employment opportunities. And then lastly, 80% of working professionals consider networking vital to your career success. So almost all of people that are employed and working, people that are established in their career, consider networking an essential part to having a successful career. Now, networking has, there's a ton of different definitions of it. There's a lot of really great content on like what networking actually is. It's more than just exchanging business cards. It's more than just showing up to, quote, networking events, to mixers and, all those types of things. But I really want to break it down and share with you what I think the bones of networking is. And when you're having a conversation with somebody, when you're building that relationship with a new person, the bones of networking and the structure behind the conversation, I feel, is 3 bones. So we've got the wishbone, the jawbone, and the backbone. So the wishbone is talking about what you want. What do you want to get out of the relationship, out of the conversation? Really stating what your objective is. If your objective is to work in marketing or work at a PR firm, talking about that, being articulate and talking through what your career objective is. And then that kind of segues into asking with competency and humility. So accessing the jawbone. So when you're having those conversations with people in your network, talking about your goals, talking about your ideas, but being competent and knowing what you're talking about, being mindful that you've done your research and that you know what you're talking about within your particular industry is really important to making a good impression. And again, branding yourself as somebody worth getting to know. And you always want to be mindful and be talking to somebody with humility, like talking, accepting information, being receptive to what people have to say. Networking is all about listening as well. It's a two-way street. So, being mindful of remaining humble and, willing to receive information gracefully. And then lastly is the backbone. The backbone is all about persistence. It's all about grit. It's all about resiliency and, just not giving up, keeping the goal in mind and moving forward with your career ideas and your career dreams. So just using that backbone and moving forward and not letting a pandemic get you down and not letting, different career opportunities pass you by. So being mindful that, persistence is key and you got to keep the long game in mind. All right, so next we're going to kind of unpack who is currently in your network. So where are your current networking circles right now at this point in your life? This can look so different for everybody, and truly nobody is off the table when it comes to who's in your network. These can be people who are former mentors, who are former supervisors, whether it's at an internship or part-time job, people that are in professional organizations that you're a part of, any sort of club or campus organization that you're involved in, alumni organizations or alumni in general, like you all are a part of an alumni association or will be when you graduate. Those are really strong network circles. It can also be former faculty and academic advisors, anybody that you've done volunteer work with. If you are in a fraternity or sorority, these are all people that can be in your network and that you can reconnect with or establish a rapport with. And if you're really struggling to kind of think through who's in your network, career coaches are available to help you think through who is in your network circle and kind of act as a soundboard to get the wheels turning and think through who you can be networking with right now during the coronavirus. The 3 different types of people that you need in your network are are the advocates for you, you're going to need strategic ends, and you're going to need subject matter experts. And so as I'm chatting through these different types of people, be thinking like who falls in these different categories. First up is the advocate. These are people that are that know you on a really great personal level. They can act as a trusted soundboard. These are typically your colleagues, which are your classmates or people that you work with, your family. These are really strong advocates for you. So be thinking through who your advocates are that are in your current network. Next is the strategic in. And these people are particularly well-connected individuals, and they're willing to make connections on your behalf. So an example of a strategic in would be a career coach, because we are working with faculty, we're working with employers, we're working with campus partners. So we would be considered strategic ins to make connections on your behalf, to potentially introduce you to a hiring manager or to somebody who might be a great candidate for an informational interview, which leads me to my last type of person you need in your network, and those are the subject matter experts. These are the gurus in their field. These are the industry experts. They're going to be able to offer superior insight on a specific industry and really give you an unbiased opinion on particular subjects. Again, these are the ideal candidate to conduct an informational interview with and really glean insight as to what it's like to working in a particular field. So keep in mind who's in your network and where they fall into these categories. Next, we're going to talk about, how are you building your relationships right now? I have 4 suggestions for activating your networking skills and to potentially expand your network. First of all, be doing your homework and research. Because we are in unmapped territory right now, it's even more important to plan and research and know the why behind why you're connecting with someone. Everything we do right now, from sending emails to making phone calls or sending texts, is more important now than ever. How we make people feel and how we affect someone and how we can attribute to an organization is going to last longer than the pandemic. People don't forget how you made someone feel. So when you think about networking, ask yourself, what's the goal? What's the network, or who's in the network that can help me solve a problem? And how do I communicate with them in a way that's going to engage them? In a minute, I'll share some things with you to keep in mind about networking during, this period of social distancing, which first is just checking in with people like your faculty, staff administrators that you're close with, former supervisors, sending a quick just checking in, whether it's an email or text, it really goes a long way. Taking a moment to reconnect with, people that are influential in your life is a very strategic move, and letting them know what you're up to, asking them how you can help them, or ask what they're up to. It's a really thoughtful and mindful message to be sending somebody. Think about the communications that you would be happy to get. You could be reaching out to say, I saw you in the news, or I saw you posted this article, wishing somebody a happy birthday, sending somebody just a simple hello and I hope you're well, sending articles or sharing podcasts with people. Those little light touches to nurture your network are really, really powerful. Next is connecting with groups on social media. Finding industry-specific or strategic groups on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and then don't stop there by just following them or connecting. Making sure that you're engaging with that group and that you're leaving, thoughtful content, or that you're leaving thoughtful feedback in those groups, so that people know that you're active in that group. And then lastly is asking, how can I contribute? Networking is based on the question, how can I help versus what can I get? Because again, it's a two-way street. You don't always want to be giving, or taking. You want to be giving more than you're taking. Right now, yes, traditional networking events are on pause, but building relationships is not. So you want to, be mindful of like continuing to establish those connections and those, just those messages throughout the pandemic. Take time to think strategically. Think about your, how you can be contributing to your contacts, because that's, again, the more you contribute and help, the more they're going to want to help you. The key to networking during a pandemic, I think, is to be curious, especially if you're thinking about pivoting your career into another industry, because some industries right now are not hiring so much. Ask questions, be asking, be curious, be researching. If you're unsure of a particular field, like just do some homework and figure out who you can ask more questions with in that industry. All right, let's see. Moving on. So now I'm going to give you a couple action items that you can be doing right now while we're all still self-isolating and social distancing. First up, and the most powerful thing I think you can be doing right now is talking to a career coach. Loyola, we have a career team that works on a liaison model, so we all have our particular industries that we're really well versed in. The career team is an excellent resource to help you strategize about who to network with and accomplish a goal. So my first action item for you is to schedule a meeting with your career coach and Handshake, and just start that conversation. Just start the dialogue about, your objectives, your career goals, who should you talk to? And career coaches are really great sounding boards. My next piece of advice is to stay organized through networking and contacting new people. This action item, I would encourage you to write down 10 people who are in your network that you can connect with directly that could potentially connect you with another person. And you could be expanding your network tenfold. After this webinar, I would say just jot down 10 people who are in your network and who you can contact maybe next week. And if you're having trouble thinking through 10 people, then that's when a career coach can help you think through like, hey, what organizations are you involved in? Like, who would be a good person for you to contact? So that's action item number 2. Number 3 is, if you haven't already, spend some time creating a LinkedIn profile. LinkedIn right now is being used more than ever. It's already a really strong platform for connecting, for job searching, but right now is a really strategic time to be on LinkedIn. And as we talked about, with branding yourself professionally online, this is a really great place to start. You can be connecting with with faculty on LinkedIn, alumni, relevant industry groups, your classmates, and then being sure to check out the alumni tab specifically on the Loyola page. You can actually filter Loyola alumni by where they live, where they work, what they studied. There's almost 30,000 Loyola alumni active on LinkedIn. So it's a great place to start when looking through who's working where and thinking through who can I be connecting with. So action item number 3, create a LinkedIn profile. And if you already have one, spend some time making it a little more polished. After the webinar and the follow-up email that I'll send out, I'm going to be sharing this student job hunting handbook. It's just a really great guide for kind of kickstarting your career. This is a resource that has over 30 pages of really great content and information for you to be thinking through, networking, creating a really solid LinkedIn profile, talking about different people to include in your networking circle, and then just really, really solid resources for kind of pivoting into that job search phase. My next piece of advice, I am a huge podcast fan, so I recommend listening to podcasts specifically on the subject of networking, specifically, learning from industry professionals that are consider themselves professional networkers, connectors. These are some of my favorite podcasts that I listen to on a regular basis. So just checking out like one of them, one episode, and really starting to like be making networking a part of your, just a part of your daily life. If you're like me and you are taking walks more often to just get out of the house, listening to podcasts is a really great time to get that information in a passive and easy way. It's really easy to just pop in your earbuds and listen to a 20-minute podcast and gain some really valuable insight on this particular subject. All right, and then my last action item for you guys is to use the next 30 days to complete one networking strategy a day. I would love to just challenge you guys to do one networking strategy for the next 30 days. I know that sounds like a lot, but this could be as simple as commenting on a relevant post on LinkedIn, sharing a post, taking some time to write a really thoughtful message about a particular article or a podcast or something relevant to your industry of interest. Challenge yourself to make networking a daily habit and making it a part of your life. I know that sounds like a lofty goal, like 30 days of networking, but it doesn't have to be something that takes a ton of time. It can be something that takes, 5 or 10 minutes a day. And I really think that you will start to feel more confident with your networking skills and really gain some good momentum as far as moving forward with your career goals. It is important to, cut yourself some slack, and don't worry if it's been a while since you've, maybe reached out to some people in your network. We all have crazy, hectic lives right now. So it's okay if you haven't spoken with somebody in a couple months, or, send an email to a faculty member. But it's great to go ahead and reestablish those connections and be engaging with your network and continuing to expand your network, because when we come out of this pandemic, you're going to really need those people in your corner, and you're going to need to tap into that insight. So I would just challenge you to, for the next 30 days, mindful of making one networking action item a day. I believe in you guys. You can do it. All right, so that is all I have for today. I'm going to leave the chat function up. If you guys have any questions, feel free to drop those in the chat. Again, if you have any specific questions or want to schedule a meeting with a career coach, you can do so in Handshake. You can always email us. We work through the summer, so we're available to meet virtually through the summer months. And then hopefully we're going to be back on campus with you guys soon and be able to continue those one-on-one appointments and really help you guys strategize about your next career move. And I'm just going to make a plug for our next pivot session, which will be next Thursday. We're going to be talking about career competencies and developing your skills, and how to maximize this time to pivot into your career with new skills and really feeling confident in your career abilities. Thank you guys so much for joining me today, and I hope you all have a wonderful day, and we look forward to chatting with you guys soon. All right, take care.